So the purpose of this event is to preview the next generation of aviation safety and risk management. As a matter of fact, I am member also of the ITRE committee, and I am member also of the transport committee, and I deal a lot with aviation topics. I am now rapporteur for Single European Sky and shadow rapporteur for EASA, the regulations, both regulations, as you know, that are dealing a lot with safety. So for me, it's a pleasure to be here. So the invitation to host this event was made by CAR Communications in Dublin, one of the project partners for Prospero. It is a pleasure hosting this important EU FP7 project engagement event, given the importance of having safe aviation management systems in place for European citizens. I would like to take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome to the many aviation industry representatives who have traveled to Brussels today for this event. Prospero is a collaborative EU-funded FP7 research project which commenced in 2012 and will be completed later this year. The project has 16 partner organizations representing 8 European countries. Prospero is developing even more advanced safety management system than the systems that currently exist in EU to further minimize the potential risk of air accidents in the future. At present, the EU is working towards two ambitious targets in operational safety by 2020, to reduce the accident rate by 80% and to achieve a substantial improvement in the elimination of and recovery from human error. Prospero is working to help achieve these targets. It has produced an integrated risk framework for the air traffic system, including proactive ways to anticipate complex risks that have the potential to cause crises. By anticipating these risks, it allows for more effective management of situations where risks cannot be eliminated. This will also result in a substantial improvement in the recovery from human error. One of the biggest challenges for Prospero is the management of complex data from a range of sources, including air traffic control, airlines, and airports, for example. The challenge is to integrate all of this valuable data so that Prospero can give a more realistic profile of potential risks for the future.
Another aircraft falling out of the sky? How do we convince the public and the authorities that we are on top of this? The regulations require us to be proactive and to manage safety performance, but we seem incapable of controlling the rare combination of factors that lead to disasters during routine operations. This seems to be the catalyst of commercial aviation accidents these days. Can we find new and advanced tools and methods to prevent further aviation accidents?
The question is, how do we make an ultra-safe system even safer? We are doing all the conventional things well, but our risk assessment tools are not powerful enough in the face of complex everyday operations. Therefore, it is difficult to anticipate these system risks, and even more difficult to know how to change the system.
Change is hit and miss. It is very difficult to achieve your objectives. It is difficult enough trying to change one organization because we are so reliant on everyone else in the system. How can we build a safer aviation system?
The problem is that aviation does not operate as a system with effective feedback and common performance and risk standards. We need a new approach.
So, what can we do?
Prospero is an innovative approach to tackling system safety. It uses all the available data to build a profile of system risk in everyday operations. This includes sharing data between airlines, airports, and potentially also ATM.
How does it work?
Such a system gives better support to those doing the job whether in operations or in managing change. Feedback from their work enhances the risk model and provides accountability. Furthermore, we can begin to measure our progress towards a safer aviation system. This is how a self-regulating system should really work. Once we understand that, the logic of collaboration, even with our competitors, becomes compelling. It is in everybody's interest to make the system safer.
Great. If we do this right, we can make everybody happy. We can reassure the public, reduce our insurance costs, provide better support to our staff, and become more competitive. At the same time, demonstrating to the authorities how we are progressively getting safer.
Prospero is about information, so it is about actually making available the kind of information that operational people on the flight deck, on the ground, in the tower, need to have to manage risk better and to enable those who are responsible for change to operate their change management in a more effective and accountable way. The context that you laid out in terms of the necessity to reduce the accident rate, the risk rate, actually introduces the technical problem that we have to solve in Prospero. And I think a good way of illustrating this is to quote from René Alberti, who's one of the leading safety experts in Europe today. And he's talking about aviation as an industry that is ultra-safe. And what he means is, yes, the accident rate is less than 10 to the minus 6. Right? And if you read the right-hand column there, he says, in contrast to less safe industries or part of the aviation system, the next accident has never been seen before. Its decomposition may invoke a series of already seen micro-incidents, although most have been deemed inconsequential for safety. Right? We can no longer rely upon the normal ways of managing safety, which is to try and learn from previous accidents and incidents, to try and monitor separate streams of data from flight data, for example. We need to start building a much more in-depth forensic picture of the normal operation, so we can understand the normal variants of operations in order to try and anticipate those rare combination of circumstances that can escalate into severe events or even disaster. That is the challenge. There's one quote that influenced me for the last 10 years or so, and this is the idea that the risk is built in before the flight departs. In putting together the Prospero project, it was Air France 447 was not far earlier than that, and that is a perfect illustration that actually the events that led to that fatal accident, that tragedy, were all present in that flight. The technology, its vulnerability under those circumstances, the route and the weather conditions, the crew and their relative experience and training, unfortunately combined on that event to create an unrecoverable situation. Right? But if that information could have been made available before that flight took off, would it be possible? Is it credible that we can predict and influence the outcome of such events in a preventive way?
Where I work, we have I will say, put many of the Prospero thoughts into action already. So we are actually created a system where we can look at risk in real time. We have connected various data sources within the company, both from technical, from operational, from human resources, giving us a real-time picture of our processes. So we're currently monitoring 100 processes in real time, or safety performance indicators, which gives us a very good picture of our current risks today. So we've been able to transform from having a setup where you collected a lot of reports, you had a meeting once a month where you discussed what risk patterns were in the company, to something where we handle risk on a daily, real-time basis, which makes us also able to change a lot faster than what we did previously, because now we can change according to the limits that we have set that we are willing to adhere to. So I think that's the major transformation that Prospero has helped us achieve, is actually this new risk awareness within the whole system. And we're also now working with airports and ATM service providers in connecting up their systems to our systems, so we can exchange data in real time on important issues that can help us improve safety in a general matter.
Prospero is trying to change, supporting to change the operational risk management. Putting behind the first step, hazard identification, another step, a brand new step, hazard prediction. And hazard is a combination of usual factors, active depending by personnel staff, and latent depending by organization. So, identifying the correct data pattern is possible to anticipate an event before then occurred, and making the organization, the system, ultra safe.
Actually, there is a clear need in the aviation world, that is to share information and to have a common approach and to build a new integration between the different stakeholders into the aviation system. And what we have done in Prospero is exactly try to fulfill this need and try to make an integration between the different stakeholders. For example, the airline, the airport, we try to collect data from different sources and try to analyze those data. And we definitely demonstrate that it's possible to identify a common risk picture and to manage the risk. Because as all of you already know, risk has no boundaries between companies. So we need definitely a methodology to manage this risk in a common way.
As a board member of a public hospital, you have access to enormous information that comes from the healthcare system. Everybody knows money is not the solution. It's management. And it's exactly the same as the problem we're talking about here. It's breaking down silos, getting the right data, providing it to the right people, but then making sure somebody is accountable, somebody is responsible, somebody has the information and must take decisions. An aspect that I don't think has been mentioned yet in what is done in Prospero is pattern matching. Nick talks about it in terms of the occurrence of individual events that happen which have a very low probability of causing an accident. But with evidence from the past, when those random incidents are added together, happen in a particular way, the accumulation of them can lead to catastrophe, as has happened. And again, very similar, both to the energy industry, to healthcare industry. So the extraordinary thing that arises out of Prospero, and it's driven by the group of people here, the scientists, the industrialists, the end users, the knowledge base that sits around the Prospero table when we have met in the past and when we meet tomorrow. The extraordinary thing is that it is that group breaking through their own silos that actually delivers this extraordinary result. And delivered it will be. For us as communicators, it's a huge challenge to end up being able to properly communicate the results of a project as complex and having the potential that it has to improve. And improve it must, because otherwise it becomes a constraint on what is a very, very complex and demanding industry. So have no doubts the work that we collectively do, but principally that you do, will have dramatic impacts across other industries and other organisations as well.
It's quite nice that you actually said some good things about the performance scheme at the very start of it, and it's the key, really, to this particular debating issue. Single European Skies performance system is targeted at 4 key performance areas. If you're not familiar with it, this system is geared to reducing the costs, but by maintaining the safety levels and improving them, but also increasing the capacity that's available. This is quite a comprehensive programme. It's a different approach, something that originated here in the European Parliament and has been promoted actively as a change in the regulation. So no longer are we looking at compliance, we're looking at outputs. We are demanding from our air navigation service providers inputs into the system by them, which come out with a defined output, which has been defined centrally by the European Commission.
Coming from a regional airport, a small airport, we did learn a lot from Prospero. I would say that in just a few years, the company changed drastically, dramatically, upside down. The major change was the cultural change, which has been put through or implemented and supported by Prospero. People are now willing to participate, collaborating. For instance, this was not the case before. So we miss data. To make a risk assessment, you need data, of course, either inside the company and from the outside. Prospero helped us in both sides, getting a better understanding, a better support from our people, and sharing data with other partners so we can predict, have a much better prediction of risk, sharing the data with some other partners, like bigger airports like Airport di Roma or Athena or Swedavia. So the change is really drastic. Cultural change has been absolutely fantastic. We reduced the number of people working in the company in 3 years, and we increased the production. People now are willing to share their experience, to participate in the improvement of the changes for safety.
My name is Emmanuel Zambert. I work for EASA. I have a question regarding, I think it was very interesting to listen from different speech about, okay, what Prospero can change at a local level. I'm interested to know also if there are lessons how to build a generic model or to have at least, a common set of processes, common set of data, common set of practices.
During the next 2 months, we want to start at the top. We plan to convene a regulatory workshop to see from the top and to have your participation in it and your colleagues from EASA and Single European Sky and so on, so that we begin to understand the requirements from a integrated point of view of what Prospero needs to deliver, right? Now, we can't solve all the problems to do with integration, right? For example, we had a discussion about taxonomies and so on at the beginning of the project, and at that time decided to avoid that issue. But now that we're talking between airlines and airports and increasingly talking about commonality with ATM, now within those those domains in which actually we're doing analyses, it really means that that issue has to come back onto the agenda.
Basically, what we need as a manager in the airport is something that can justify or that can help the manager to demonstrate what are the activity that you need to implement to manage the risk. And sometimes this could be not so easy because you cannot have all the data available, and maybe it could be helpful to have some different methodology. And this is what we have done within the project. We basically share the data between different companies, and this is one of the key points, because you can analyze the same risk from different point of view, and you can have the data from different point of view, and it means that you have a comprehensive approach to the same risk, and this is a key point of the project. And after this, the possibility to manage those kind of large amount of data can help you to find the right action to implement and to manage effectively that risk.
The organizations as such, for example, IATA, are doing their own work on safety analysis. So how does Prospero fit in there? And basically we all follow the same goals. How do we make sure that we're not working in parallel on the same things without contributing from each other's achievements so far?
I work with IATA on several occasions. I think it's generally safe to say that all the work in Europe that's been done on SMS lately and the implementation of the SMS rules that was on the 28th of October this year fits very well in with the profile that Prospero is trying to achieve. I would much rather say that when we implemented the SMS in our airline, we did that according to the rules laid down, but also we used a lot of the stuff from Prospero in other, to make it even more advanced and a better system than we just would have gotten by doing it straight by compliance to the general rules. So I think the foundation with the general rule set, it's there, but then you can add and build with some of the findings and some of the work that is being done in Prospero today to make a much better and more comprehensive management system for the company. And I think the big issue here is that the management system as it currently stands in EASA is very much geared at one organization or a service provider or in compliance with a state safety program and how those work together. But it mostly happens within one organization. What we're doing now is starting to work with outside organizations and using that data to improve on the risk awareness within the system, just not within a company. Like we talked about the silos, even within a company, it's a lot of silos that you have to break down in order to gather all the information there and make it visible to the whole organization, which in itself changes the safety culture within that company, because now data is accessible to much more people in a much smarter way than what it was before. And when you then add on the capability to connect with airports or ATM or whatever, the system just becomes much more comprehensive and much better.
Something Nick said, and I just would like you, Nick, to maybe say a little bit more, if you might. You say collaborative decision-making is the major bottleneck in the single European skies. Was that what you were referring to, or something else? I think we have the technology, but do we have the human relationships?
To make the information flows go round, to get effective feedback from everyone, right, essentially, is also really challenging and very, very, very difficult. I do think it is probably not too much to say that, I mean, making this work is critical to making the single European sky work, isn't it? You know, because there's no point in having more aircraft in the sky unless you can actually manage them much more smartly through the turnaround process. Our argument has been throughout that is that we need to deepen and strengthen our ability to manage those kind of social communication, information flows in order to actually make that sharper. And I think the partners we're working with are kind of demonstrating that.
Organizations are not predisposed to share data with other organizations until it's clear that data will be used only for safety reasons and not for commercial purposes. But hazard is not lying within an organization, but often is shared. So sharing this information could support to individuate common barriers, recovery measure or threat controls, and bring benefit in safety and cost.
Internally, we are thinking to redo the procedures, replan the procedures. The procedure, of course, has safety impact and also some financial impact. Right now, the procedure we have in place, approved by INAC, by our authority, has 4 levels of supervision. Reducing the level of supervision means reducing people around the aircraft. Reducing people means reducing the cost. But to get a better assessment, safety assessment of the risk, we need data from the airline, because the major risk in refueling is fuel spillage. We don't have such data because it belongs to the carrier. Cases like that at the airport are very rare. So we are forced to, let's say, to do a risk assessment on very few data do not belong to us, belong to other people, and we have some financial constraint. So that's the issue that Prospero brought into us, to think safety, economic, bring it together, share data internally, externally with other partners.
I do a lot of safety training with heads of power plants and in patient safety with doctors and managers of hospitals and also in airlines and airports. And I would like to ask you what your opinion is, because I know that in the SMS, managers are regulated to have a few hours. I mean, it is not more, it's not a master, it's a few hours of safety training. Is that sufficient safety training, or what is your experience of your colleagues? Do they have the competence and knowledge of safety in their organizations and systems?
There is a huge lack in training within safety in the different organizations. It could be much better than what it is. And to a certain extent, lack of training means that some of these new things that we're trying to implement or do in a safety management system is very difficult to achieve, because there is a lack of understanding of the importance of these changes within the organization. And training would definitely help. More training and better defined training curriculums across the industry for what is actually required.
Safety is everybody's responsibility. It's not just the safety manager. It's everybody in the front line is accountable for safety. So there's a very short answer for it. If you think that safety training is expensive, try having an accident. Because as the CEO of an organization, the chances are that if it's a significant accident, you will go out of business. So do you really want to bet the company on it?
I have a question. I wanted to ask all of you, but later. Where is the place of the principle just culture in this system? Because you know that just culture is a very debated principle, even in the legislation. So I wanted to ask you how you manage this in your organization.
In answer to your question on just culture, because I know that you're very keen for an answer on this, is just culture is absolutely the essential tool. It's a gift. Anybody that declares a near incident as a result of a safety risk materializing in today's environment is giving you a gift. People do not generally wish to do that willingly. For them to admit that they made a mistake, to admit that they nearly caused the loss of anything up to 900 people these days on these platforms that move around, is a big deal. So we should take that in the honor in which it's given, give it to us and let us deal with it. We do not want significant retained risks within this industry. We want to know about these issues. And therefore, the just culture mechanisms that have been proposed here in the European Parliament are not just a nice to do, they are an essential element. And then you need tools like Prospero to move that on. So let me just close with an anecdote. I was a director of safety of an airline many years ago, and that airline had a number of growing issues. Growing pains, I think, is probably the best way of describing it. And we looked at one of the key issues. We did a survey of our people and said, what is the biggest issue that we think is a problem with this airline? And they told us. They told us it was fatigue. It was fatigue because of the rapid way in which everything was done. So we had a look at it in big detail. We did our analysis, and if I can pick up on what IATA says, it's never been done, we've never predicted in advance. We have, it's well documented. We actually published the material, and we did say that if we did not address this issue, that we would have a safety incident within a very short time. It took 9 days to find one. The aircraft was on final approach to an airport in the United Kingdom. It was configured for an automated landing on a beautiful day at 11 o'clock at night. And that aircraft came in, and there were so many incidents on that aircraft's arrival that it nearly killed everybody on board. The net result was the company spent £7 million within 5 days to change its entire process, but it saved 21 million as a result. Safety can make you money if you really work with it.
I am very glad to say that it was a very, very good surprise, very positive surprise for me. I think that this is a very good system to share information among different institutions working on air, on ground, on different responsibilities. It's a very, very good idea, and it's a start. It's very difficult, I think, for you to take together, to bring together all this information. So you have a very good, very difficult job, in my opinion, but you are working for a very good cause. So I am happy to support this project from now on. I thank again to Mr. Kelly that invited me to come to this to this event, because now I know more about it, and always I try to know more. So let me thank you, all of you, for participation, Professor and all the panelists. Thank you very much for your participation, and I hope that it was a very useful trip to Brussels, and you will work in the future for the final results, for a positive result of this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I'm Terry from This Is in Dublin. We've been in the European Parliament today at a very interesting meeting on the Prospero programme, which is designed to look at the whole area of risk management in the aviation sector. We discussed the whole area of people being able to share information, to look at managing risk, looking at the whole area associated with bringing about change in the systems and processes needed to manage risk, and primarily to encourage safety in the sector. One of the things that is important to remember is that at the end of the day, people are human. They're can be prone to error, but the more you can do to minimize and ameliorate the risks associated with decision making, the more you can get people to collaborate and share information, the less likely you are to have a risky situation and a safety hazard. One thing that we'd also like to mention is that Trinity College Dublin, who are the project coordinators, are going to be running a new master's programme in managing risk, and this will be launched in September of 2015, and it will be giving a master's degree in the whole area of risk management and change management.
Hi, I'm Richard Plenty. I'm director of This Is, and I really enjoyed being here today at the European Parliament, learning all about the next generation of risk, and particularly the human part of risk and the systems part of risk. I think we heard some really good stuff talking about how, when you've got a big system, it's how all the bits interact and how they all come together. That's what causes the problems, and what can you do to manage those. It's to do with information sharing, learning from each other, and it's to do with understanding the data And it's to do with all the things you need to do to get that into place. I think the big challenge is to implement that in the future, to get people prepared to talk to each other, to get people prepared to share information, and to put the emphasis on it and the investment behind it that's necessary in order to really make it, I was going to say make it fly, because I think that's what's necessary now. It's the next level, the next generation of super safe systems that we're looking for, and it needs this kind of approach, this kind of really systematic and in-depth research approach to make it work. And how good it is to see so many countries coming together, so many people coming together, different institutions, different countries, different people with different perspectives to try and make the skies a safer place.
Hello, my name is Morten Idalus. I'm a safety manager for Norwegian, and I've been part of the Prospero project since the start. Prospero has been very important for us in helping us developing our safety management system. It has given us some really good ideas about how to develop it, and also the interaction and the use of different data sources within the company. So I hope that Prospero actually succeed in its objectives of making the airlines safer and doing it in a way that will benefit all the different parts of the aviation system.
We had a really successful event today, chaired by Mr. Marinescu, who is the reporter to the European Parliament for the Single European Sky. So he put it really clearly for us that the performance, the safety improvement is absolutely critical. Prospero, I think, presented itself in terms of an industry-led project that is doing what the industry wants, what people really find it hard to believe is possible. People sharing data to create an integrated risk profile across the aviation system. It's taken us a while to get to this point in Prospero, but now I think we've achieved a real momentum so that by the end of the project we will have something tangible to demonstrate. I can only say that because the level of commitment, the level of understanding, the level of collaboration between our industrial partners is really quite magnificent on this. Not only that, but talking to Peter Griffiths, who's the chair of the performance review body of the Single European Sky, convinces me that actually we can do something that actually can be used for European airspace and globally. One of the questions that was faced is, how do we prepare organizations and managers to manage risk much more effectively? There is a bit of a competence gap, and for that reason we've been developing, and we are launching in September this year, our first online masters in managing risk and system change. This will be one of our contributions as Trinity College to the evolution of much more effective risk management in aviation and other high-risk industries. Not only that, but by the end of the project, our software systems will be much more integrated, our case studies will be completed, and so by the end of the year, I think we will have quite a strong story to tell about how we can bring the kind of capabilities that we've been talking about today into practice and to intensify the work of airlines, airports, ATM in actually bringing a safer sky to Europe.